Just Noise Boys, we back. It's episode 4. May the 4th be with you, Andrew Baina. Here
May
we
the
are.
4th be with you too, brother.
Hell yeah. This day is like Christmas for me. I went to bed like a kid on Christmas Eve last night.
I just realized you're wearing that Star Wars shirt too.
Yeah, you dingo.
Is that what you got at Disneyland?
Yeah, remember when I bought it?
No, I do.
At the Disney store, and then everybody else was contemplating getting one too, and they're like, oh, never mind. Because it was expensive.
Yeah, it was like $90 Canadian, probably.
No. Yeah,
yeah,
it was
exactly.
probably like $60 American or something. So
whatever. 90 Canadian.
Not even that high quality of a sweater, but hey, you know what? I'm wearing it. I'm proud. I love today because like it always has dope shit dropping today for a big Star Wars nerds like me. So I'm pretty excited. Some good stuff has already been kind of coming out. Jedi Fallen Order has a new update.
Yeah, I saw
which
you
is
post
crazy.
that earlier.
Yeah, so there's like new skins. There's new modes that you can do. The thing that I'm most excited about in that game now is that you can play through the campaign again, but without like losing all of your progress. Like it doesn't do a full restart of the campaign.
Oh,
like
I didn't even realize that wasn't already an option.
Yeah, people have been asking for it.
It's weird, but okay.
Yeah. The only thing about it is you still have to like you lose all your force powers and you have to gain them again as you go because that's how the game progresses.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like all of your unlockables, your skins and all that stuff, you can still keep all of that. Yeah. And I think your force tree is the same as well. You just kind of like unlock it as you go. You play the game, so you kind of know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So
I played
that's
99%
cool.
of the game.
Yeah, Andrew doesn't like to finish games. He likes to watch people.
It's not that I don't like to finish them. It's that I couldn't finish it because I could not beat the last boss after like 3 weeks of trying to beat her. So, or not her, but you know what I mean. Yeah. So I gave up and just watched the last cutscene instead because fuck it, you know.
Spoiler alert if you haven't finished this game or played it, but I can't, it's been out for ages, so if you haven't, then whatever. But could you beat Trilla, but you couldn't beat Vader?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Wait.
I remember.
No. That's not right. I couldn't beat Trilla.
Yeah, I was going to say Trilla is the Inquisitor that you have to fight at the end.
Yeah, that's where I got stuck. And then because Vader shows up like after you beat her, right?
Yeah, okay. He shows up right after.
Yeah.
I remember when I first played that part with Vader, you probably watched it in the cutscene that you watched, but he's choking you and you have to somehow figure out that there's like an engine pipeline thing in the ceiling that you have to pull down. Yeah. And I didn't know and I couldn't figure it out. I was like, how am I supposed to beat him? Like, what the fuck? But I figured it out. I love that game. I 100%ed it. It's great. I'll play through it again probably now that there's updates and shit.
Not probably. We know you will.
Yeah, I definitely will. But yeah, long story short, I'm excited about today. There's a new documentary drop for The Mandalorian. It's called The Gallery series or something. It's on Disney Plus. Looks pretty interesting. The way they made that show is like nuts. A lot of the techniques they used is like so technologically advanced, it's insane.
Yeah, like that whole projection screen circle thing.
Yeah, super cool. So, and there's like an amazing cast of writers on that show, like Taika Waititi and Dave Filoni and obviously Jon Favreau and stuff. So it'll be interesting. I'm stoked for that.
Yeah. I was, I mean, you already know this, but I thought Mandalorian was like, okay. I didn't love it as much as you did, but I mean, that's with everything Star Wars, to be honest. But yeah, I kind of liked the first like 2 episodes and then I liked the last 2 episodes, but like everything in between was kind of, I don't know, pretty meh in my opinion, but I know that you did not feel that way.
I obviously really enjoyed the show, but the thing with me and being as big of a Star Wars fan as I am is like, I will admit there will be a bias in my review. But that being said, I can also understand how people can't like stuff. Like I get it if something about the show kind of bothers them or if they think it's bad for particular reasons. I can see it from their point of view. Like I'm not like a completely just like wearing blinders like Star Wars is the best. You can't tell me it isn't. Like Attack of the Clones is a terrible movie and I have no problem admitting that. The Phantom Menace is pretty bad too, only because of Jar Jar Binks. I think everything else is fine. But like, whatever. I did really like The Mandalorian. I didn't like the Bill Burr episode that much. I kind of just
you
thought
loved that episode at first.
No, I didn't really, just because I felt like they kind of just stuck Bill Burr in there, and it was pretty much just Bill Burr in space.
That's exactly what it was. And
yeah,
that's kind of how a lot of those middle episodes felt to me, where it was just like, what purpose does this episode serve? Like, it didn't really have anything to do with the overarching story basically at all. And like, it was just packed full of like guest appearances, and that was basically the appeal of it. So like, I think it was like episode 3 to 8 basically it felt just like that. And then like episode 9, 10 went back to the story in the first 2 episodes, which is like what was interesting to me. So like episode 1 and 2 and 9 and 10, I was like, these are sick. Everything in the middle, I was like borderline about to just stop watching the show because I just didn't get what the point was.
It's a big thing with Dave Filoni and his writing, especially like if you've watched the Clone Wars and if you've watched Rebels, you'll know that like a bulk of seasons are usually like there's 3 to 2 main arcs that you follow that are like the really good episodes, and a lot of the other episodes are filler or character development episodes.
Yeah.
So when I made that master list of Clone Wars episodes that I sent to you and Cooper, a lot of those were the primary arcs that I thought were the best stories. Everything else is pretty much just like filler, doesn't really matter. It just adds more depth to some of the characters.
Yeah.
That's kind of what those episodes were in The Mandalorian, but I don't know.
Yeah, I just am not a fan of, I mean, no matter, not just Star Wars, like any show that does that, it's always kind of unappealing to me. I have the same problem a lot with like a ton of animes where like, anime is just like that, where there's so many that just have all these like bullshit filler episodes that serve no real purpose other than being like, look how cute and interactive our characters are, and then it doesn't really matter in the end anyways. So that's the problem I have with a lot of like anime, is it does a lot of that, and it's like, I don't know, I just always get to the point with a lot of these shows where I like, they hook you in and I'm like, this is fucking sweet, and then they do all this like filler character development stuff that doesn't really matter, and I'm like borderline about to lose interest, and then they like give you that one episode that's really good, so you're like, oh, I'm back, and then I don't know, it's kind of annoying, but I'm also a very impatient person, so there's that
very
too.
true. It's a lot of it, especially with Star Wars 2, is a lot of it's marketing and it's showing off
obviously
merchandise, right?
Yeah.
So like Bill Burr gets
Baby
his own
Yoda.
action figure now.
Yeah.
Baby Yoda, but Baby Yoda is like a particular part of the story. But like,
I know,
that's
but I
what
mean,
Star Wars
obviously
is.
they made that with the intention of making toys of it.
Oh,
like,
they knew.
Obviously,
they know. It's the same thing with like, at the end of Rise of Skywalker with Rey burying, Luke's lightsaber, Luke Anakin's lightsaber. She has a brand new one.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Exactly.
Toys, homie.
Yeah.
That's how it is. As a Star Wars fan, I don't give a shit. That's cool for me. Like as a collector, I like stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. That's that. I won't ramble on about Star Wars anymore. That's just what I wanted to say. What's new with you, man? What's going on?
I don't know. I don't think anything is really new with me. I've just been doing the same shit as always, just playing guitar, making YouTube videos, and watching movies and stuff like that, and that's pretty much it. Watching movies.
Yeah. I was thinking about this the other night when we had another long discussion about films.
Oh yeah.
I think we should get Cooper on and we should talk about movies. Yeah. I think that could be interesting. And Cooper, for those of you who don't know, was the guitar player in Galactic Pegasus. We're obviously still super tight with Cooper, but he has like a pretty damn good knowledge of films in general, but specifically within the horror and thriller genre.
Yeah.
Which could be an interesting conversation, and all of us together as well have watched a lot of films,
same movies, yeah,
a lot of the same, and then a lot that we haven't seen. So it'd be cool to discuss that. I know,
that'd be cool.
I know you said you just watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and you didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I didn't like it. It's just like it was kind. I thought it was kind of boring.
You didn't like the end and stuff?
I liked the end, but again, like I was just saying, same issue with that movie where it was like started really interesting, got very boring, ended really interesting, and the I have that problem a lot with like older movies too, where like older movies are obviously way slower paced and compared to modern stuff, because like people like me have no attention span anymore. Modern movies are a lot more like fast paced and like they get to the point faster, which I'm used to and also I like better anyways. So I always have a hard time watching old movies that are like 2-3 hours long, where I'm like, man, like this could have easily been like an hour and a half and hit all the major plot points and I would have been fine. But I know that that's not the way everyone feels, so I get that.
Yeah, I recommended that one to you just because, like I said, it is a classic film.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. If it's not your style of film, I get it. But
Yeah.
it's Jack Nicholson. He's unreal. If you've never seen that movie, you definitely should. I grew up with, my mom showed me so many films that she grew up watching when she was younger.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she introduced me to a lot of really good films early in my life, which made me want to watch more films like that.
Yeah.
And I felt like she made me watch some of those because they were important as well at the time, and they sometimes like taught important lessons, if you don't want to sound really lame.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I really like that movie.
Fair enough. Yeah,
but
I didn't really grow up that way. My dad doesn't really watch anything that I know of, at least, like other than sports, I guess.
Right.
Which I do not give a fuck about in the slightest at all. And then my mom watches TV all the time, but she doesn't really watch, like, I mean, I don't know. They just never really showed me like movies they used to watch, other than like, I guess like the main ones like Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Other than that, I can't recall like my parents purposely showing me old movies when I was a kid. I don't really remember that being a thing in my household.
Do you like Indiana Jones?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, Indiana Jones is awesome.
Yeah.
I showed them to Charlie not long ago too, because she hadn't seen the old ones, and it's always a good time. Harrison Ford's fucking dope.
Yeah.
What's next? How much time we got? Okay,
we got like 10 minutes ish.
10 minutes. I wanted to specifically talk about a topic that Andrew necessarily doesn't have to join me in this conversation if he feels as though he doesn't agree, which is fine.
Thank you so much for your permission.
I've just been, over time, I've been getting more and more frustrated with Djent, the whole subgenre, and a lot of the toxicity within the community, because I think, like, I know within a lot of subgenres and genres in general outside of metal, there obviously are, those people who are toxic and shitty. But I think it's just because you and I have been so immersed in it for the past few years, I'm just starting to really I'm like over it. In my opinion, the subgenre is kind of dead. Like, I haven't heard a Djent band, quote unquote Djent band, in the past few years that I've really been like, this band is really cool and I love everything they're doing. It's a lot of copycats. I don't know. And I just hate like the whole striving for like, I need to get the most flashiest expensive gear and just like flex on everybody, but I can't like physically do anything with what I have. Like, there's
in other words, my whole channel.
Yeah, fuck you. No, you utilize what you have in a different way that obviously makes sense to what you do. That's completely different than these people, the specific people that I'm talking about. Like, there's one thing to collect gear and, like to have cool stuff, that's fine. But like, you can't, if you buy the gear with the purpose or the idealism that it'll make you a better player, I just think that's fucking bullshit. And that's what I think a lot of the subgenre has. And I'm super over it. I'm really tired of it. I'm over the obsession with like string gauges and shit. Like, goddamn, like, if you want to know about string gauges, just look it up or just like watch videos. But that's like all that those groups are, man. Is like, what string gauges should I use? What should I use? This and that. It's
well,
like,
that's
do some fucking research.
I certainly get where you're coming from, because this is like my life to deal with this stuff. But
yeah, I'm aware. That's why I'm talking about it.
Yeah, but I don't agree with it being dead or like exclusive to this genre. It's the same no matter what genre of metal, and probably not even just metal that it is. I'm sure there's like EDM producer groups that are the exact same fucking way, where it's like, oh, you use Fruity Loops, like fuck you or whatever. Like, it's gonna be the exact same shit no matter where you are.
Yeah, but I said that right at the top of what I was saying.
Yeah, I
understand that it's not exclusive to this, but I'm just saying per, you know, what
I think
we do,
that you're.
it drives me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like you said as well, I think you're just frustrated with it because you deal with it because that's what you're in, which
Yeah.
makes sense. Same with me. Like, obviously, you know, I know a lot about it because I am living it every day. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that it's dead necessarily, or really at all, in my opinion. Like, again, it's kind of the same in every genre. Like, every genre is mostly copycat bands, and then there's like 1 to 10 leaders of the genre, and like maybe like 1 or 2 new bands every year who do something like totally different and new. So I don't think it's like a Djent thing. I think it's like this in every subgenre. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on it.
What are some new Djent bands that you think are doing something new and different?
I don't know if you would classify like Loathe as Djent, but that would be the first one that comes to mind. They definitely have Djent elements, but they also do a lot of other shit. And that's the thing too with like a lot of these things is like it's not specific to just Djent. Like there's not that many bands that are just that. Like they do that, but they also mix it with like metalcore, deathcore, fucking black metal or whatever the hell.
Yeah, for sure. Having it as an influence and stuff and like sprinkling it in every so often, that's totally fine. Having other little flavors is cool, and I definitely wouldn't call Low the Djent band because I think like,
well, no, but like they're obviously like heavily influenced by Meshuggah and have definitely a Djenty sound to
for
them.
sure. But they have a lot of other influences within their music that I think make them unique.
Yeah, so that's what I mean, though. Like that is an example of that.
Right. I'm just saying, like, there's tons of like, you know exactly the people I'm talking about. There's just tons of bedroom production Djent bands that are doing the exact same fucking thing that everyone's been doing for the past 10 years. And it's I'm just like, when is it gonna fade out? Like, when are we gonna move on to the next thing? You know, it was the same thing with deathcore for a little bit as well. It had like a huge surge and then it became oversaturated. It died and then it had a revival. So I just don't know when we're gonna get to that revival stage. I don't know when that happens. I'm curious.
I don't know.
But I'm just airing frustrations because I've been frustrated by
because now you live like I do and get YouTube comments and yeah. That's
YouTube,
why.
Yeah, just YouTube comments and messages and stuff that I'm over it.
Yep.
That's pretty much it.
Well, yeah. And also obviously I have a very different perspective because I'm like this is how I make my living, so
that's what I mean. Yeah, it's like it's an interesting dichotomy between the two because I obviously still love a lot of the Djent bands that exist and stuff, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, like I only started making a living from this in the past year, and that's definitely still like the primary thing on my channel. So it's certainly still what would be the word, like commercially viable? Not, I don't know. Yeah, lucrative. That's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
So I mean, if that's not like a direct sign that it's not dead, then I don't know what is.
There's still an audience for it. I'm just saying, some of those people drive me fucking crazy.
Oh, for sure. But
it's
some
the same thing with
deathcore kids
deathcore.
are fucking assholes, and some people that listen to
100%.
metalcore suck, and people that only listen to old school thrash metal suck, and like it's
everything
the same for
sucks.
everything.
I don't like anyone.
Metalheads,
stop talking to
dicks.
me. They are, and they aren't. They're really. That's a very
sorry. I should
thin line.
Metalheads on the internet specifically.
People who have opinions on the internet are assholes,
just like us.
All right, well, who are we talking to today?
All right, today we got Lauren Babic. You guys, I'm sure, know her as an amazing vocalist, both on YouTube and with her bands CrazyEightyEight and Red Handed Denial. I've done a bunch of covers with her in the past. We just did one last month as well of an Of Mice and Men song. So I've worked with her for a long time. Johnny's also worked with her for quite a while. Actually, I think before even I worked with her, which we'll talk about a bit in the interview.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
But yeah, amazing vocalist, another Canadian YouTuber, and just all around great singer.
I'm really excited for this interview because I really want to talk with her about some specific things pertaining to vocals, obviously, and like vocals, being a vocalist on the internet during the modern age and like the issues that come with that and stuff. So she was one of the peeps I really wanted to get on, so I'm glad that we got her.
Yeah, and she also has kind of a little more unique perspective because she kind of lives both sides of the stage, I guess you could say. Like, she's not like just a YouTuber or just a band person. Like, she does both and is very successful at both, which is not very common, at least that I know of. It's usually like YouTubers stick to YouTube or band people stick to having a band, and they just like kind of dabble in the other. But with her, that's certainly not the case, because all of her projects have been extremely successful. Jesus, couldn't get that word out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so without further ado, we're gonna hop on over to a call with Lauren Babic and get that underway.
What's up, y'all? We're here with Lauren. I'm very excited to have you on.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. It's have we had a vocalist on yet? I don't think we have.
No, we have not. Just
Hell yeah.
Guitarists all everywhere.
Mostly guitarists.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get right into it, because why not? We've pretty much just been asking everybody, what are your roots? Where'd you begin? What were your musical influences when you were a kid? You know, all that fun jazz.
Music's kind of been part of my life my whole life. I guess my parents saw that I really liked music when I was really, really little. So I would just like sing and bang on pots and pans and, you know, do that kind of thing. So they put me in like baby music classes and then yeah, where we would just like sing and do all that. And then they put me in piano when I was like 5.
Oh, crazy.
So I kind of had that very formal music experience until I was like 14, and I absolutely hated it. Like I really didn't like it. It was too formal, and it was like really just pretentious and not creative at all. It was just like, play this perfectly and then do an exam. So it's just
Was
like,
it classically trained piano?
yeah, it was like conservatory, like play Mozart and stuff. So it was just like, I don't know, I just didn't want to do it in that sense. Like I wanted to do it more creatively. So I quit that, and my parents were like, we're selling your piano. So they sold the piano, and I was very sad. So then I didn't do music for like 2 years because I was really just, I guess, exhausted just from that.
Right.
Kind of demotivated a bit, I guess.
It probably felt way more like school than it actually did like a creative outlet, right?
Yeah, it was like very just draining and not fun, and they kind of took the magic out of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So yeah, so then I guess when I was in high school, like I joined the school band and I played trumpet in that. And then I kind of got back into music with a couple of friends, and then I picked up the guitar and started playing that very poorly. And then I was in a ska band.
Okay.
Yeah, in high school, and I played trumpet, and it
Crazy. I didn't know that.
Do you still play trumpet?
I can, yeah. I don't actively play it, but I think I can still probably get around.
Nice.
That's crazy. So were you listening to ska and stuff like that, or did a ska band just need a trumpet player?
I think a lot of my friends liked ska. I don't think I've ever really loved ska, but
yeah, fair enough.
I think at that point though, like I wanted to be involved in music in any capacity.
Right.
But I didn't know how yet. Right. And I was just like, any opportunity to be in any kind of band, I would just like jumped on it.
Makes sense.
So I joined that, and it didn't last very long. It was like probably like 8 months.
Better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, as long as you're just playing with your friends, even if it's not like your favorite genre in the world, it's usually still pretty fun, right?
Yeah, it was cool while it lasted. I mean, I don't think I was happy, but it was fun because I knew I wanted more. Like I wanted to do more, but I didn't know how yet.
So did you transition directly from trumpet to vocals, or how did that kind of come about?
I was like kind of singing on my own, and just like, I guess, singing along to just my favorite bands, like privately. Like I was like, no, I'm never singing in front of people ever.
Right.
So it was just like, you know, in the car, in the shower when no one was home, and then anyone would come home and I would immediately just shut up.
Right.
But yeah, like I didn't really dive into vocals until I was in university.
Oh.
So it was kind of like when MySpace was still around, I guess. I saw the classified ad for red-handed denial-seeking vocalist. So I just like took the subway to their audition spot, and that was literally the moment I started singing in front of people.
Wow.
Was like,
Insane.
yeah,
That's
it was
crazy.
really just out of my comfort zone.
Yeah,
So,
that must have been a hell of an introduction to doing vocals.
yeah, I was just like, you know what? Fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do it. And then it happened, and the audition song was Blood Meat by Protest the Hero.
Nice.
Classic.
Yeah, and it was fun as hell. And I was like, okay, I think I want to do this. And
That's
then I
awesome.
kind of learned how to be a vocalist just as I was learning to be in a band, and just it all happened at once.
Right.
That's awesome.
So when you said you were singing and stuff on your own, did the singing include like what we call clean singing, or was it a mixture of screaming and singing?
I think it was mostly singing at first.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I really love Under Oath, so I think I really wanted to scream as well. So I would just kind of try and mimic Spencer as best I could at that
Right.
point in time, but I wasn't very good
Right.
at that point in time. So I kind of just like felt out the screaming portion of vocals and just figured it out on my own, and figured out like what not to do and what sounded cool. But that
Right.
came that I think I was a better singer starting off than I was screaming.
Mm-hmm.
It took a while for me to really just like get a hold on that, I think.
Yeah. I feel as though a lot of us took a very similar approach to learning how to scream when we were younger. Like, I'm sure you've had people ask you like, oh, how do you scream? How do you do particular things? And what I kind of end up telling people is I mimicked people that I listened to when I was
for
younger,
sure.
which therefore kind of in a non-technical way teaches you how to do what they're doing. You kind of like unofficially learn it, but you don't know
Yeah.
what you're doing, right?
You're just kind of like messing around
Yeah.
with your mouth until you're like, oh, that kind of sounds like that.
Yeah.
I learned how to do it backwards. Like I like learned it and then realized what to do. It was
Right.
like
Exactly.
because now I teach vocals to like people online,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and I realize how difficult and weird it is to actually explain how to do it.
Yeah.
But I think I know now because I've been doing the vocal lesson thing for a while. But
Right.
at first, when I was like, "Okay, I want to actually teach people how to do this," I was just like, "Holy shit!" Like, I need to really know how to break it down and dissect it, because I don't think we really ever thought of that when we were
Right.
learning, right?
No,
Not at
definitely
all.
not.
Not at all.
It was the same when I had to do like a guitar lesson like in the past summer for this channel called Guitar Lessons. Shout out to them, they're awesome. But yeah, they asked me to do a guitar lesson, and I had never taught anyone how to play guitar before, and I was just like, you guys really want me to do a guitar lesson? Like, I don't know.
Dude, teaching in itself is
Yeah, that's a whole other skill.
is a whole other
Yeah.
skill.
Totally
Absolutely.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
s-
I was lucky because I actually went to university for teaching.
Right.
oh, great.
So that helped a lot in terms of like how to get the idea across.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like telling people how to scream is like in itself difficult,
oh, it's
Yeah.
so hard.
and music
Well,
in general.
Yeah. But like every vocalist is different, right? Like everybody finds their power from a different place. So especially when you're talking to somebody you don't know or you haven't even heard what they do, it's hard to be like, well, I can't tell you what to do because I don't know how you're doing anything,
Mhm.
really.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of how it is. A lot of it is figuring out stuff on your own. And then once you get to a place where you feel like you can do something consistently, then, you know, going to teachers and figuring out the technical aspect of doing vocals is probably a great idea.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
That makes a lot of sense.
But sorry, going back, because I know that you grew up in Toronto, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're a Canadian kid, like Bane and I both. Like, who were the big Canadian bands at the time that you were listening to? Probably in like the Much Music era of Canadian history.
Shut up, Much Loud.
Much Loud, baby.
God, those were the days when like a new video would drop. I like to distinctively remember listening to like Sum 41, Billy Talent,
yep,
Alexis on Fire.
Mm-hmm.
Those were like my big Canadian bands.
Did you ever follow Dallas Green down the City and Color Road?
Oh yes, absolutely. I still listen to a lot of Dallas Green. So
yeah, he's fantastic.
Protest the Hero was my favorite, or still is my favorite Canadian band. So it's funny that your first song you ever did was Blood Meat, because I definitely remember trying to learn that in high school and being like, this is fucking impossible on guitar. Like, how it's like a guitar solo the whole time. Like, how do they do this?
Dude, it used to be the ringtone on my flip phone.
That's crazy.
I bought it on my flip phone and I was like, Blood Meat. I'm like, da 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 da.
Yeah.
Hello. Like, I loved it.
Dude, I actually had a YouTube channel before my current one, which got banned from YouTube because I uploaded Protest the Hero's Blood Meat music video to it, like before copyright was a thing. And I was just like a kid in high school, and I just uploaded like random music videos to YouTube just because I liked them, and I got banned for it, obviously. So I started a new account, and that's still the account that I use to this day.
Oh my gosh. I didn't get into Protest till a little bit after Fortress came out. Like, I wasn't
the same
on the Kazaya train.
Oh man, that's my shit.
So anyone's like, what's your favorite Protest song? And I'm like, not Kazaya. And they're like, oh my god. But yeah, like, I hopped on that train after Fortress came out, and then I went back and listened to like Turn Soonest to the Sea and like
all those
Heretics and Killers and all those good-uns.
Yeah,
I loved Volition, man. I listened to that record so much when
that's
it came
my
out.
favorite album by then.
That one is
like
too.
100%.
Yeah,
because I will always be my favorite just because it was the first one I heard, obviously, and it's like that with a lot of bands I listen to. Like, their first thing is the thing that always sticks with me the most. But I mean, yeah, Fortress was absolutely incredible, and same with Volition. Scurrilous was like a little iffy in my opinion, but yeah, I don't know. Everything else they've done has been great.
some good songs on that record.
Yeah, for sure.
Scurrilous is like the sleeper.
Yeah.
And like I think everyone says that. We're like, Scurrilous, yeah. But like it's actually really well done.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just think it didn't have like, you know, a Blood Meat on that record.
Yeah. And it also was like a good transition from Fortress to Volition, like where those were two amazing albums. So in between, they were kind of like, you could tell that they were kind of like making that transition, if you know what I mean. But they like really nailed it on the next album.
Oh yeah, like even production wix, like
for sure.
Fortress is super messy. Like it's messy.
Yeah,
and it's Volition's just like
same with Kazaya. It's like mix.
Oh my god!
It's but it sounds like, you know, when you hear it when you're 15 years old,
you're like,
I was mind blown, right?
Dude, all the bass drops on Fortress are just like atomic bombs. They're huge. They just blow your speakers. I think that adds unique character to those old, albums and stuff. Like, especially back in like the deathcore days, man. Like the production was not tight, but God, like, that stuff slams so hard.
Entombment of a Machine with like the girl scream that's just like basically just a clipping noise. Like it's not even an actual sound.
Any of that stuff is just fart production, but you know the heart was in it, so that's all that mattered. Just was Rhodey is Rhodey a big influence on your vocal style, or like who are your influences in your vocals?
He's one that I kind of really draw my like theatrical side of my vocals from, like just all those like big grandiose like swoops and vibratos. Like he's my guy for that. But I don't know, like I have so many just over the years, just the things I listen to, I've just like adopted those styles into like my style. Like there's like the R&B style that I love from like just, I don't know, R&B artists, like even like Usher, like just everyone. And then it can go to like Tyler Carter, Johnny Craig, and then you have like Spencer from Under Oath and Aaron from Under Oath. So it's like very widespread, but
Right.
Rhodey's like my guy for like the theatrics, I guess.
Yeah. You can definitely hear it in the red-handed stuff big time.
Oh yeah.
And I think
like,
that's amazing.
It fits like that sort of like cheeky style of my writing, because like obviously what I do on CrazyEightyEight stuff is vastly different than what I do on Red Handed. But like Red Handed is basically a bunch of Protest the Hero fans in a band. So naturally we're gonna sound like very shreddy and very theatrical and extra at times.
Yeah. It's still its own thing though. To me it's not like a direct ripoff. There's obviously influences, but it's not like we're Protest the Hero 2.0. It's like it's definitely different.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we have a bunch of influences within the band. Like Dance Gavin Dance is a huge one. I don't know, like just so many. Periphery, Circus Survive, like so many different influences just wrapped up into one band.
Yeah.
Whereas like I think CrazyEightyEight's more focused. Like it knows exactly what it's doing, but RHD's kind of like anything goes almost.
Right.
That makes sense.
Right.
It's always fun to have two projects like that where one is like, okay, like, you know, we're a metalcore band and we have to sound metalcore, and the other one's like, I don't know, let's just write some shit and see what happens. It's good to kind of have like both the limitation in and of itself of like, we want to sound like this can be helpful because it gives you like kind of a creative what's the word, guideline, I guess, where you're like, okay, you know, we should try and make something that fits within this, and that in and of itself can be a helpful writing tool because you just like, I don't know, you kind of have a guideline of what you're supposed to do. But then on the other hand, it's nice to have the other project where you're just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go crazy and do whatever I want, and like, who cares?
Yeah, they're really nice creative outlets, and like that's partially why I joined CrazyEightyEight, because I was like, I just want to make something a little bit more on the hardcore side of things, and like more on the post-hardcore, and like tap into that nostalgia side, because I know like that's something that RHD definitely doesn't do. Like RHD's more like on the experimental side of things, whereas like CrazyEightyEight's way more melodic and more focused and palatable for, I think, like a lot like the Warped Tour scene, I guess.
Right. Sure. It knows what it is and it pertains to a particular sound.
For sure.
Yeah. Right.
As close to Under Oath as possible.
Exactly. You also have a pop side project as well, right?
Yeah.
How's that been? Have you been doing much with that?
Yeah, we're actually finishing it up. Like right now, like we're doing the visualizers and the videos, finishing those up, because
nice.
It took a little longer because we were kind of trying to figure out what sort of mixing style and what sound we were going for. Because we did Ghost back in October, and then that was that, and it's I love it, but we were doing Ghost like 2.0 for the EP.
Right.
But yeah, like I realized like pop is such a rabbit hole in itself, and it's actually almost more difficult to mix a pop song than a metal song.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's surgical in its own way. But yeah, like it's coming along. I think it should be ready end of May, I think.
Nice.
Like a four song EP.
Cool.
I'm excited for it.
Just keep dropping that stuff while this apocalypse keeps going. Keep people into it.
May as well. Like we're not doing anything else.
Yeah, why not? Stay in tune. So we'll kind of move on. That first bit was great there, but so when did YouTube come into the picture?
Oh, that was like shortly after I joined Red Handed, so it's been a minute. But I kind of just used it as a way to get better at singing. Right. So I think I did a video in 2011 or 12,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And it was just like a cover of a Woe Is Me song. Because I was loving like the R&B metalcore stuff that Tyler Carter was doing at the time.
Yep.
So I was just like, hey, I want to do better and learn how to record myself. So then I did that. And then I just like didn't do anything else for like a year. And then I came back to my YouTube channel and the video is at like 50,000 views. And I was just like, why? Number one. And so I was like, okay, maybe there's something here that I can tap into. So I was a very shitty YouTuber for a long time, and I still am kind of a shitty YouTuber. But yeah, like I still kind of don't take it seriously. Like I've always used it as something for fun and just something that I've wanted to do and not felt like I've had to do.
Right.
But it was solely to just practice recording and to promote my band. That was really what it was, and kind of what it still is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, it definitely worked, so that's good.
Yeah, for some reason. I still have no idea what I'm doing half the time, but something is happening.
I definitely feel that.
Yeah.
I don't think we really know what we're doing.
No, especially when it changes every month and we gotta change what we're doing every month to match or whatever. But yeah, that's
just go with the flow, right?
Yeah, it's always been that.
It's funny that you say that too, because when we talked about Nick about this, like how he started YouTube, it was a very similar thing where he was like, oh, I was just practicing guitar for fun and like covering songs because I wanted to get better at guitar, and then eventually one of them got a bunch of views, so I was like, oh, and then he continued from there. And it was kind of the same with me, where I was just doing videos for fun, and then I had that one video that blew up, and I was like, oh shit, okay, well maybe I should start taking this a little more seriously. So
yeah, it's always just like, oh shit, okay, and then you make another video, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
And then you make another one and it gets no views and you're like, oh,
okay.
I mean, it's probably just because of the times and the infancy of YouTube, but I don't think any of us were like, I want to be a YouTuber. I want to do this. That wasn't a thing, right? And now it's totally a thing now, right? Because it's become a lucrative thing.
Yeah,
I don't know if you feel this way, but like, did you like used to be offended if someone called you a YouTuber? Like, do you still feel that way, or like
I don't know,
because like back when I was doing it, I was like, no, I'm in a real band. Like, but now it's almost like cool.
Oh,
like,
definitely. Yeah,
like,
sorry, go ahead.
We have like YouTubers now have like a really strong culture. Like, do you notice that? Like, it's cool now.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely remember back in the day, it was like, you were kind of looked down on even if you were in a band, like other bands would kind of be like, oh, that's that band with that YouTuber or whatever. And now it's like every band has that, basically. Or like almost every band.
Wants it or tries to do it.
Yeah.
It's so interesting how it changed.
Yeah, for sure. And like even back in the day, it was like if you made a YouTube video and you like tried to promote your own band, people were like, oh, like, it was all like weird and
it was
clicky. But now it's just like if you have a YouTube channel, it's like you're plugging your merch and your Patreon and this and this and this, and that's just like a totally normal thing now. Whereas back in the day, if you did that, people would be like, go
so
fuck
cringy.
yourself.
Yeah.
It's almost like a real job now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something you can tell your parents that actually works, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I remember there was once where I used to work at the university when I was going there as well. And there was one time where we had to teach like this class where I think the kids were learning like Photoshop or something, like something really easy. And the kids were like, almost every single one of them was like, yeah, when I grew up, I want to be a YouTuber. And I was just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
That's crazy, man. It's crazy. But like, even just look at NAMM. Like when we go to NAMM, a lot of the people that are there are YouTubers. Think about all the friends that we were talking to this year. Mm-hmm. Like they're there because of their YouTube careers. Yeah. Like it's crazy, man. It makes people want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess just the success of it all and just like the reach that we can get, it's wild. Like it's blown up entirely out of proportion.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like anything past what I've ever imagined, at least.
For sure.
Like it's insane.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Johnny.
No, it's all right. Kind of tapping into that. What video do you think was your turning point though that made you realize like, holy shit, like maybe I should keep doing this? Or like what was like your first like big video, I guess?
The first big video?
Yeah.
I think Scarlet, the Periphery cover I did. I don't know. Whenever Periphery 2 came out,
P2 was 2010? Was it 2011, 2012?
It was like 2013, 2012.
Something
probably.
like that. Yeah.
I don't even remember. But like I did a cover of Scarlet, and whatever video came out first, whether it was Make Total Destroy or Scarlet, like Scarlet got an obscene amount of views, and I still don't know why, because it's not a very good cover. But Metal, I think Metal Sucks reposted one of them.
Right.
And I was just like, what the hell is happening? Like, I was just like, what is happening right now? And like, I got like a really positive response to it. And I was just like, this is crazy. Like, okay, like maybe I'll just keep doing this and see what happens. But yeah, that was like I attribute a lot of sort of the momentum to that video. And then it's like two sort of waves of it. So like it was Scarlet, and then I think really recently it was the King for a Day cover that I did. That just like
that thing went crazy.
Yeah, like that one just completely sent my channel just like it skyrocketed.
Yeah,
and it was
you went from like under 100,000 to like 200,000 in I feel like a couple of weeks or something. Like it was super fast.
It went from like 80 to like 120 within a couple weeks.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
And now I'm like breaching on 300, and I'm just insane. Like within less than a year, and like I think that was like my moment, which is really recently, like that's within the past year. And I was just like, hey, like this is very real and tangible, because it became tangible at that point. And so I guess it was two waves, where Scarlet and King for a Day.
Yeah, for sure. I remember the Scarlet cover coming out, because this was around the time when I was in college and I had a stupid little band. And I saw that cover and I was like, holy shit, this vocalist is amazing. And I've told you this story before, but for everybody else, I had a band in college called The Residents, and we had wrote this song called This Is All I Have, and our vocalist wrote this really awesome chorus, but we didn't really like how he did it necessarily, and I thought that it would suit your voice so much more. So I don't know if you remember, but I sent you a direct message on YouTube.
Oh my.
Which doesn't exist anymore. No. So I sent you a direct message on there, and you replied pretty quickly, and then we figured it out and sent the files and stuff. But I remember we were all sitting in our dorm room at the time in college when you sent it, and we all like sat around and listened to it, and we were all just like, holy fuck. Like we were so stoked about it, because it made the song so much better, and we were incredibly
It's a great song. Is it on Spotify?
No, we don't have that record on Spotify.
You should do it. You should think about re-releasing it, because that song, like the reason why I said yes was because the song was really, really fucking good.
Right.
You should think.
Well, I appreciate that. I was thinking about doing like completely re-recording it, doing it all over again. Yeah.
Nice.
I remember doing it too. Like it was, I think, still like one of the coolest choruses I've laid down, and it was a long time ago.
Ages ago, 2013, 14, I think it was.
Crazy. A long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the first video I ever saw of yours was actually a way more obscure one. It was like, did you do I'm pretty sure it was you, but you did a Destiny Potato cover, right?
Oh yeah, Blue Sun.
So for some reason that was the video that I saw, which, you know, Destiny Potato's not like a huge band or anything, so I don't really know like how I found that, but I
Very
saw
niche.
that, and yeah, I think I messaged you on probably Facebook or something, just being like, yo, I do instrumentals, blah 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 blah. Like it would be sick to collab. And then I think the first thing we did was that Taylor Swift cover, if I remember correctly.
Was it Taylor Swift or Tovlo?
I think it was the Taylor Swift one first, but those two were pretty close together, if I remember.
They
correctly.
were.
Yeah.
That was so long ago.
Yeah,
I remember
that
that.
was-
That was so fun.
Which Taylor Swift song did you do?
Blank Space, right?
Blank Space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
Hell
did it
yeah.
with the drummer from Fallen Archaea. What's his name? Brent Rogers.
Oh, yeah.
So we did it with him, and then Cole Rollin did a guitar solo on it. So it was like this. It ended up being this like huge collab that actually was pretty sick.
Oh my god, I forgot Cole was on that.
Yeah, that was
I
like
totally forgot that.
that was the first time I worked with Cole as well. And then after that, we did the Paramore cover with him like a couple months later or
Right.
something.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was like within that year, we worked together like a bunch of times. And that Paramore cover did crazy good. It was like, I think it has like 2 million views or something.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's crazy. And it's not on my channel, so I don't like look at it that often. And then every once in a
Yeah.
while, I'll look it up and be like, whoa, when did this happen?
What is happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then people go to my channel and they're like, oh, this has nothing to do with Paramore at all.
But you hope that it brings crossover, right? And that those
Yeah.
people take a chance on your channel.
I'm
maybe
sure.
not just being
I'm sure
like,
it definitely helps.
you're not doing Paramore covers? Fuck
Yeah.
you, you know?
I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure it helped to some degree, but yeah, that was kind of, I think that's how we started working together as well.
Yeah.
And then, you know, over the years, we continued to work together just like here and there, like probably, I don't know, maybe like a collab a year or so.
I would
maybe?
say so.
Probably.
Okay.
And yeah.
It's really crazy how small our community really is, because when I was messaging Lauren like ages ago, I had no idea who Andrew was at all. We
And
didn't
you guys live in You guys both live in BC.
Yeah, but I was living in a small town at the time. Andrew was still in Surrey or Vancouver. And then when I moved to Vancouver, that's when I met Andrew and like joined Galactic Pegasus and stuff. So it was just like, now it's so weird. Like meeting everybody at NAMM and just being like how we all know each other in different ways. It's like fucking crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, like I remember when we like when we did our cross Canada tour, like we went to Toronto, and I don't think we had worked together yet, because otherwise I totally would have been like, yo, bring out the Red-Handed Denial, like let's fucking chill.
homies.
But you know, that was before we even had worked together, which is crazy, because that was like 2014. So it's crazy how long we've actually known each other.
Yeah. And it was like very surreal to actually meet everyone
Yeah.
at NAMM the first time.
Mhm.
Like that was super overwhelming.
That was awesome.
Oh,
So
big
much
time.
Wild.
Yeah.
Big time. It was our first time too, so we were just like not really knowing what to expect.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
much
There's so-
gear. Oh my god.
There's gear and there's fucking people. There's after parties. It's like holy
Yeah.
shit! Like
It's a
what are
lot
we
of
gonna
fun.
do?
It's
But
definitely
those are
one of my favorite things to do every year, and I'm definitely going as long as I can.
as long as the
We're
apocalypse
convinced-
still isn't happening.
Well, we're actually convinced that we got coronavirus at NAMM because it existed
Yeah.
and it just wasn't like, newsworthy at the time, but we like
Right.
finished our tour and we noticed like the virus was following us down the coast, because it started like in Portland, Seattle, and then we came down and it was like, now it's in San Diego, and we're like, oh my god, we were in San Diego 2 days ago. So then Tyson and I got pretty sick after we got home from NAMM, so we're just like, yeah, we had corona.
I
But-
kind of thought the same
Shit.
thing, because I was pretty sick when I got home this year, but I didn't know anything about it. So I was just like, oh, it's just a really bad cold or whatever. But I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
I got it. I don't know.
I had seasonal allergies and I was fully convinced that I had it. And I was like kind of legitimately worried because I had pneumonia like a year before. And I was like, oh, fuck, like this isn't going to be good for me. Like, what am I going to do kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it was fine. I just had allergies and I was sneezing a lot. So I was just
Was
being
that when I gave
a
you my
hypochondriac.
extra bottle of no spray?
Yes, it was.
I'm such a good friend.
But kind of building off the whole touring thing. So being a vocalist on YouTube and also being a vocalist in a live band, obviously you know this, but doing vocals in a studio atmosphere compared to a live atmosphere are two completely different things.
Yes.
The transition is crazy. So what's it like, or what was it like transitioning into taking what you do kind of online, let's say, and putting it in a touring, atmosphere? Like, was it crazy? Was it hard? Like, what was it like?
I mean, I think a lot of vocalists would agree when I say like touring is not the funnest thing. Like, it's hard. Like, it's extremely difficult, especially like those of us who are doing singing and screaming, because it just adds to the shit show. Because like you have to sleep, you have to keep healthy, you can't really drink, and you're just constantly checking the status of your voice at all times, and it can just be so stressful. And I mean, a studio setting is so different because, you know, you kind of have the luxury to go 100% and have that break.
Yeah.
But with live, like, you can't go 100% all times, because like you kind of have to switch gears so that you can focus on sort of the stamina side of things, because it's completely different. Like, the delivery's different, the strategies are different to get through it. You have to budget yourself, and it's hard. Like, I still think it's really hard. It's not easy, and I think doing both pretty actively, it can lead to issues, because I had huge issues in January when I got back from NAMM.
Right.
Because we had just come off the tour, and then I, being myself, not being able to give myself a break, like, I just immediately jumped back into recording stuff for the channel and for covers and stuff. And I really, really fucked myself over, because, you know, vocalists who are just in bands, when you come off a tour, you're resting for a month, 2 months, and then you go back out. But I learned the hard way to like the need to give myself a break, because I'm doing both of those things very actively. So it's still just a huge learning process for me.
Yeah, big time. I mean, and another thing with, you know, doing vocals, you know, live every night too, it's, you have to think about what you're doing technically, you have to think about your stamina, but you also have to think about putting on a show, talking to the crowd, and then, you know, yourself, you know, with where you are on YouTube, you have to think about, I don't know if you do think about this, but the pressure of performing to what people expect you to sound like. Like, I know, like, that's something I always kind of think about too, is like, okay, if I don't do this particular vocal part here live, people are going to be like, oh, he can't do it, or something like that, right? Like, it's a lot of it is mental too, and trying to, you know, don't give a fuck about that and kind of just do what you want to do, but it's easier said than done.
Yeah, for sure. Or like worrying about the one dude who's going to get like a video of you fucking up that one part and post it and be like, meh, 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 or whatever. Right?
Yeah. It's so hard. And I think I've always kind of been in the mental headspace of like not putting too much pressure on myself, because I've kind of over time like really just built up the confidence to trust myself in giving a good vocal performance. But it takes a huge mental toll. Like, you have to always be on and make sure like you're giving like your followers and the people at the show like what they deserve. And I think I always just like stress about making sure everyone is like happy before me. So like that's like my fault, I guess. But I think touring takes more of a mental toll on me rather than a physical toll.
Right.
Because there's
a lot of things to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
Was that tour with Red Hand? Was that your first American tour?
No, that was like our fourth.
Oh, crazy.
maybe
Didn't
fifth.
do your research. How dare you?
I
Johnny?
didn't do my research. Okay. Well, it was nice talking to you. Anyways, no.
Good talk. Good talk.
Yeah.
No, I think it was our fifth. We had done 2019 was like a lot of touring. Like we did 3 tours in the US. And then
crazy.
And then we did one in 2016. So yeah, I think it was our 5th one.
Nice.
But that was our first West Coast, so.
Right. Okay. So how do you feel between like Canadian shows and American shows? Can you tell
She's
the
already
difference?
I have to be careful.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have like a love-hate. Not a love-hate. I have a tender spot for the hometown crowd. I love Toronto and I love Canada, but I think like at least for Toronto, like there's this vibe in Toronto where it's like you literally have to pull people by their teeth to come to a show. And it's so, and I don't know if it's because we're from here and like no one gives a shit and it's like, nah, you're just another local band, but like every US show has just been 100 times better. Like I don't know why. And
that's
like
what we hear that from everyone.
Yeah.
Except Halifax, and we've played Halifax twice. It's incredible both
Really?
times. Yeah,
They
they
probably don't get bands that much, right?
Probably not.
Yeah.
And Montreal is really cool. I will say Montreal is dope. But I think they're just a different crowd in Montreal. They're more
Very
like
artsy province.
for sure. But everywhere else, like Toronto, Quebec City, it's tough. It's like, and just everywhere in the GTA, like Hamilton, Oshawa, Newmarket, like
Right.
London, like it's hard. It's a tough crowd. Like the only Canadian dates that were incredible for us were when we went with Protest the Hero, obviously.
Right.
But it's because we were with Protest Hero. No one gives a shit about us. But like, but yeah, like I 100% have to say like there's just a different vibe in the US for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
I think they legitimately, love going to shows with their friends and like that is their evening, that is their good time, right? I'm not saying that isn't a thing in Canada, but like when it comes to supporting local scenes, it's definitely incredibly difficult. Like we can speak for it in Vancouver as well.
Yeah. Definitely.
Like it's rough in Vancouver too. Like fucking 50 people to a show is a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. The last show we played as GP, there was over 300 people there, and that's the most we had ever played to.
Which is the most
in
we've
Vancouver.
ever played to in our whole career. Of
But
course,
it's
our
because
last
it was your last show ever.
Dude, it took us breaking up to bring people, you know what I mean? Like, and we were playing with Angel Maker too. It's just like, it's just how it is.
I don't know why.
It's unfortunate because
People
every other
go
show,
to the big shows, but
but
the
every other
small
show
ones-
we played was like 20 people, and it was just like fuck.
Yeah. I do think though Edmonton is a sleeper city. They like going to fucking
Really?
shows. They like having a good time. I've been there. I've done shows there twice, and it's been fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
that's just my
Edmonton.
experience.
it's tough for like Eastern bands to get to like the prairies because
Oh fuck.
I can tell you like at least 3 situations where like a Toronto band died, like not literally died, but like their band broke up on that drive.
That drive
Oh,
is
fuck.
fucking
It's
crazy.
a brutal one.
We did the opposite where we
Okay.
came from here all the way to Toronto, and I remember going from Winnipeg to on the Ontario dates. That is like a day and a half straight drive, basically,
Like over
and it's brutal.
24 hours of driving.
Yeah.
Like I can't.
Yeah,
That's way
especially
too
when
much.
you're making like $100 per show.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah. You go to Saskatchewan and you play to 10 people, and it's like, oh
Yeah.
man, what's happening?
I mean, luckily when we did it, our Winnipeg show was fucking awesome, so that at least made it a lot better. But yeah, I mean, I've only done the tour once, so again, that's not a very reliable source because like that might have just been a one-time thing. I don't fucking know.
Unrelated from touring, but I'm genuinely curious because I don't know too much about CrazyEightyEight and how it became a thing. How did it become a thing?
It all started with an email. Jared emailed me and was like, in his very professional self, he like went into a lot of detail, and I thought immediately it was a scam because I think everything's a scam. But I was like, this is not Jared Alondri. So I messaged him on like his official like Twitter.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, is this you? And he's like, yeah, it's me. And I was like, okay, I can take this seriously now. So he was basically like wanting to do a project that wasn't a parody. So he was like, I want to do basically an homage to the music that we grew up on and sort of just bring back those nostalgia elements. And I was like, I'm in. And he showed me a couple demos, and it was sick because Jared's a really, really good writer. And then we did a cover EP and then dropped the first EP about like 6-7 months after he hit me up, and then Patty joined when we did Shinebox. So it was kind of just all online. We've never played a show ever. Funny story, our first show was almost the Mountain View Warped Tour day.
Oh wow.
Last year. So it almost happened. It was like we were the next band that Kevin could have put on, but the budget didn't allow it because we would have had to fly in from 3 different locations. But we've never played a show, and
Do you intend to?
I
you think
want
it'll ever
to.
be a reality?
I hope so. I think the opportunity would have to just be perfect because Patty is very involved with As It Is. And then I have like a lot going on as well. So I think if the planets align, it'll happen. I don't know when though.
Yeah.
Right.
That
Ghost of You cover that you guys did is so awesome.
Thank you.
It's so good. I still listen to it. I just think it's so well done. It's a great take on the original, but it's just made a little bit more modern, we'll say.
I actually listened to the original songs a lot more than the covers with that project. I don't know. I'm sure you have heard this before, but like it definitely kind of reminds me of like that first Beartooth album, which was the one that I really loved by them. And
oh yeah, there's a lot of Beartooth influence.
And Beartooth kind of went in a direction that I personally don't really like anymore, which is obviously fine. But the way that first CrazyEightyEight album sounds like is like an even better version of that. So I was like, this is fucking awesome. I jammed it a lot, especially of course like Shinebox is an amazing song. And it's cool. I like it a lot.
Thanks. Yeah, it turned out really well. Just like the whole experience with Burning Alive, like it was so much fun. I had so much fun.
And do you keep in contact with Jared anymore?
Oh yeah, we chat at least like twice a week. Because like I think we were supposed to record some stuff literally next week.
Oh wow.
But because of like the travel bans, like Patty and Jared can't come here.
Right.
So we were going to, but we can't right now.
That sucks.
But yeah, like CrazyEightyEight's alive and well. It's just strictly online for now, but we'll get some new stuff soon when we can.
I have a question about CrazyEightyEight as well. So correct me if I'm wrong, but all of the titles of the songs are related to movies, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically everything in the whole project is movie related.
Okay. Was that your idea or was that like more of Jared's thing that he wanted?
He told me like in that initial email that he wanted to do that. So cool. I thought that was really, really cool. And it kind of gave the band just a really interesting creative direction. Down to the name, which is obviously Kill Bill inspired. But yeah, like every song is after a movie, and the lyrics are like sometimes verbatim the movie. So
I thought that was really cool because I liked that you guys made the titles like they're references to movies, but they're not incredibly obvious references.
Yeah, you have to dig for sure.
Exactly, and I thought that was super cool because there was definitely some songs I had heard where I didn't know what the title was, and then like months down the road I would be watching some movie and then the character would say whatever phrase it was, and I was like, oh fuck, like that's the title of that song.
Shit.
And I don't know, I just thought
That's
that
awesome.
was really, really cool that you guys did that.
That's a Jared genius thing as well. Like he is able to come up with these like ideas that are not quite on the nose, but you have to like dig for them. And I think like he uses his talent in his like comedy realm that way. Like he's really good at just referencing things.
Yeah. Well, it's also just a great marketing strategy too, from like, you know, even like a social media standpoint. It's just a cool idea overall. I always appreciate seeing stuff like that in bands.
Well, it'll make people listen to the songs and try and like find all the little Easter eggs and stuff, if you will, too, right? Like it's really awesome, like replayability.
Yeah.
Does it, like, when you're writing a song like that, do you find it kind of easier to work off of a theme, or do you just like enjoy doing it, like when you have like a movie to work off of?
It definitely gives any sort of writer's block. Like it's harder to get writer's block for sure, because you have something to sort of bounce ideas off of already. So it obviously like the lyrics were able to form a lot quicker than usual. So yeah, it gave us like a really nice direction that way.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Kind of just nearing the end of our questions here. This last one usually takes a while because I feel as though people have very strong opinions about this in particular, but
and I know you will.
And I know you will, and that's
I think
why
I know what you're gonna ask.
No, what is your outlook on music right now? You know, YouTube, where's the scene going? Is there anything that really drives you nuts, like pet peeves, anything like that?
Ooh, that is not what I thought you were gonna ask. But still a very good question. I think like I hope that like one thing that just drives me crazy, especially like in metal, is just this like, and I could be totally wrong, but it's at least what I see, is just like this competitiveness. And like everyone's just sort of compulsion to just compare everything and like not take things with a grain of salt. Like I've just really noticed that over the years, and it's like it can be frustrating, but I think like I don't know, like do you guys feel the same way? It's very competitive in a sense.
Yeah, I definitely feel that way as well.
100%.
Both in terms of music as well as YouTube, for sure. Although I think YouTube is lately at least felt a lot more collaborative than competitive. I remember back in the day it was definitely way more like I don't know if I want to collab with you because blah 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 blah. And now that doesn't really seem to be as much of a thing, which is great. But in music I feel like it's still exactly the same as it's always been. It's definitely very much like I do this because I want to be better than this person. It's not I do this because I want to have fun, you know?
Yeah, I talked to the Angel Maker boys about this because we kind of feel as though like back in the early days of deathcore and stuff, like the MySpace era of music, it definitely felt more like everybody was supporting one another and like was willing to do mixed bills for shows and all that kind of stuff. And it felt like more of a camaraderie kind of thing, like a community thing. And then I don't know what it was. We kind of just like hit a wall, and then it became this just like elaborate pissing contest about who actually was this and who does this better. And then it kind of felt more negative and toxic. Like Andrew and I were talking about this before we were talking to you as well, how I feel as though right now the Djent community is in a really bad place. I feel as though it's really toxic.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, it's been driving me absolutely fucking crazy. Like I don't know why, but I've just really let it bother me. Maybe it's because I'm sitting around doing nothing, but I hate where it's at, and we really like want to change that and start shouting out more bands and like wanting to play with different bands on our bills and like, you know, just cut that shit out because there's no point. It's fucking pointless.
Yeah, like I find it's like, why can so many artists that aren't in our genre, like, you know, have them on your album? But you like, I never see features, rarely on like metal songs or Djent bands. Like, there's just no, and YouTube I think is a lot different now. Like, I would agree with that. Like, I like only do collabs now because they're just way more fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a riot.
It's super fun, and like you just get to grow as a whole instead of just like in it for yourself. But yeah, like I noticed just on the more traditional music side of things, I just never see features or like bands sharing their friends' stuff or like I don't know, it's very frustrating. On a local level too, like I see that all the time.
I think locally it's almost worse. It feels worse, honestly.
I think that really it's definitely the most prevalent in local scenes. I mean, obviously I can only speak for our scene, but from what you're saying, it kind of sounds like the same thing over there.
Toronto's probably worse too than maybe Vancouver, because like there's more of all of it.
You're the center of Canada. You're the only city in Canada that exists, right?
It's true.
That's how a lot of outside people think anyways, just because they don't know.
All the Canadian tours that are Montreal and Toronto.
Yeah. The West Coast can go fuck itself, but that's just fine. What was I gonna say? No, I was out of experience that Andrew and I have had. Like, we've played a lot of metal festivals, and in particular in British Columbia, there aren't really a lot of bands that were like Galactic Pegasus in terms of being like a metalcore Djent band, right? We were kind of the only one. So when we would play festivals, primarily the festivals were tech death, death metal, and thrash.
Yeah.
And then we would show up. Andrew's wearing a fucking popsicle shirt. I'm wearing like, like tie-dye shirts and stuff. And we got a million string guitars tuned to drop fuck, and everyone hates us. Or we're like, they'll immediately judge us based on our name, first of all, because it's Galactic Pegasus.
That
stupid.
Part does make sense.
Yeah. So they'll be like, who the fuck are these guys? Like, and they immediately just like don't like us because of that.
Right away.
They don't give us a chance. They're just like, fuck you. Like, you play 8 strings, that's not cool. Like, fuck you. Why aren't you like thrashing? It's too many.
Gibson. You don't play Gibson. You got metal.
Exactly.
Drop D's low enough, brother.
If it was good enough for Metallica, it's good enough for me.
Yeah. But like, I just wish it was more open-minded. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because like, I like tech death. I love it. I'm not going to be like all poopy about it. I love that shit. Yeah. So it's just, people need to cool it.
Everyone's very upset.
On the other side of things, like as a counterpoint, if you will, like there's also been a lot of people who have been like that when we play festivals, who come watch us because they think it's gonna be funny, basically, because they're like, oh, these guys are gonna fucking suck, and then they watch us, and then they come up after, and they're like, yo, that was actually really sick. So.
That's
I don't know.
Nice.
As a counter argument, like there is another side to it that's also positive, but it's obviously way easier to remember the shitty negative side of things.
Yeah,
so that's all
with everything.
Yeah, and exactly. YouTube is the same, right? Like, you know, you read like a million comments saying how awesome you are a day, and you're like, oh, that's nice, and then one guy is like, I think that this is fake, and you're like,
and you go on a bender.
You just like can't.
And then
it, you know?
If you're in my case, you make a whole video on it.
This is exactly what I wanted to ask you about, because I thought that video was incredibly interesting, and also unfortunate that you literally had to make a whole video about it. That's something that I'm still trying to get over, that hump of not paying attention to what, some people say. But like, especially as a vocalist, like the amount of people that are like, you're using auto-tune, there's no way that you can do this, or like you've, done this and that. Like the whole auto-tune argument thing drives me up the wall too.
That one actually doesn't bother me anymore, because I think like the reason why I made that video was because of the allegation that people were making that literally wasn't me singing.
Yeah.
Right.
And they were like, no, this is literally Kellen Quinn. Like, you've taken his vocals and you've lip synced over his vocals. And I was like, this is the most absurd thing ever. So that was why I made it. Like, and I think I've always wanted to make a production video, like the behind the scenes, but it was a good educational opportunity. But auto-tune, like, I don't know what vocalist doesn't use some sort of pitch correction tool. But at the same time, right, like it's literally on every record we hear.
Yeah.
But I think why it doesn't bother me is because people don't understand that auto-tune is an actual program.
Yeah.
And it's a blanket.
Yes.
It's not pitch correction. Like, it's not the same thing.
No.
And I actually don't use auto-tune at like if it's metal, like I'll only use it if it's stylistically for like fitting for the song. Like I obviously use it in pop
Yeah.
because it's like a really cool effect.
Yeah.
But I don't I that shit is so fucking stupid. Like,
you don't even,
look at it.
Johnny gets very upset about it.
The only thing that bugs me about it so much is just like
People
I
that
want
are
to make
wrong.
a video explaining what the fuck autotune is because I feel
I'm
like
going
people
to.
don't know.
Oh my god.
Please do.
I'm
Please
going
do.
to. It's going to get like I know if I don't say it right, like everyone's gonna be like, well, you're just like using it as a crutch. But like I think like it's really important to let people know that like these things that we have, like this technology that we have, it's literally the quote unquote industry standard.
Yeah.
100%.
And it's like, sorry to pull the curtain away, bro, but like this is literally reality. Like we use the tools that are available to bring the artistic vision to life.
Yeah.
And if all the instruments are perfectly down to the cent to pitch, and the one thing that's not is vocals, your recording's going to be just poorly produced. So it's an engineering thing, and you know, the massive producers, like they've been doing this for years, and it's just like it's just a lack of understanding. It's just
and it's like you were saying, like
pulling the
people
curtain
just
away.
call like everything auto-tune because they don't know what it is. Like
a
if
lack
they
of
hear
understanding.
reverb, they're like, oh, there's an echo, so I guess you're auto-tuning. It's like the fuck, like that's not even okay.
Yeah. I listened to Nail the Mix has their own podcast too. And Buster from Humanity's Last Breath said a really interesting thing about, you know, it's wasted energy to get mad at somebody if they literally don't understand a concept. Like there's a difference between not understanding something and then just being a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
And sometimes all it takes is explaining something to someone for them to get it. They're like, okay, thank you for explaining. And then they move on. And then there's obviously a difference between someone being like, you're fucking shit, right?
Yeah.
So I feel as though taking that approach is definitely better, but at the same time too, I don't want to have to explain every single time when somebody says that.
Though.
That's kind of where I'm at with. I mean, for me, it's different stuff. It's not auto tune because like I'm not a singer,
What's
but
your
like
string
exactly
gauge, bro?
Oh no,
same exact
Oh,
like same
no.
concept, different issue. But yeah, it's kind of the same thing where it's like, yeah, I mean, I could sit here and explain it, but I'd be like replying to people all fucking day explaining.
You'd be here forever,
and it's just pointless. It's like for comments like that, I just ignore them. Not because like even if they're genuinely asking, unfortunately, sometimes it's just like. I don't have to be the one to explain it to them. Like they can look it up if they really want to know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I
beating
feel
a
that
dead
same
horse
way
at this
about
point.
auto-tune
For
or
sure.
whatever vocal effect. It's like I don't know why you're asking me on a YouTube video when you could just like in the same amount of time
Google
it took you to ask me that question, you could have just like looked it up. You know?
Well, Andrew, remember you made that auto-tune scream vocal video when we did our
The breakdown
Mad Libs, the breakdown call out thing. Because people were accusing us of using autotune on our screams.
That was hilarious.
I remember that.
Yeah. I'm like, how the fuck? There's no pitch.
There's no reason.
There's no pitch, yeah.
There's no
and then
pitch
even
to
when I made
reference.
that video, people still argued with me on that video saying like, well, actually, some screams do have a pitch. And I'm like, yeah, some screams, not the fucking ones that I'm
Not the
doing
ones
to,
that we're
to
doing.
demonstrate the whole... it's just,
I mean, the only
drives me
way that
crazy.
you could... I mean, no, there are many ways to manipulate the sound of a scream, but
yeah.
auto-tune is not how you would do that.
No.
It's not even close.
We were going to do a part 2 to that where we use Melodyne, which would actually affect the pitch. But
sure. Yeah.
like we just never got around to doing it.
That's what Melodyne is for, though. Melodyne
Exactly.
is what I use
No.
for
Me too.
correcting vocals.
for
Everybody
sure.
does it.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic tool for what I primarily use it for is if I'm having troubles trying to find a harmony for a vocal line, I always build them through Melodyne and then I
love doing
re-sing
that.
them.
It's a smart
And
idea.
I
That's
re-sing
a
it.
great tool.
Yeah. Because it literally, you can just move your pitch around. It's a fantastic tool for that. And that's just how it is. If we took Melodyne and everything away, people would be like, Well, now everything sounds like shit. It's like, well,
Exactly.
That's
Like,
what
isn't
you
this what
wanted.
you wanted, motherfucker?
I know. It's like, well, you should try this raw and in one take
Yeah.
and live. And it's like, that's called a bad mix, bro.
Yeah.
Like, that's all that's called.
It's the
That's
same
called
thing with
Noob. Like, I don't know what else to call it. But it's
It's
just
like-
a lot of the backlash is just, I think, a lack of understanding.
Oh,
And I
for
think
sure.
it would be the same thing as like someone ripping on like any sort of profession or medium. It's like, well, you erased that pencil line on your painting, didn't you? I want to see you I want to see you paint that in one shot with no erasing.
Wow, that's
Oh my
I've never
If you
heard
think
anyone
about
say
it,
that
like-
before, but that's actually a super good analogy.
I want to see your Star Wars movie in one take with no CGI. I want Chewie to be a real person. Like, that's what they're asking. Like,
It's
Yeah.
so stupid.
it's
Yeah.
like we have our art form, and I think like if someone is again in front of that curtain, they don't understand like what goes on behind the scenes and what it's like to like actually
Yeah.
record and do
Yeah.
what we do. So it's hard when like there's no just understanding, which is fine. I don't expect every music listener
No,
to know
definitely not.
Every single
what,
thing.
what
But I
we
think
do,
it like
but-
almost would be better if people didn't understand, because I think part of the problem too is there's also like this like middle ground of people that know how to record music but don't know how to do it well. So like a lot of people are, not to talk shit, but like, you know what I mean? Like, so
but
a lot
they're
of
garbage. That's they
that's not
do
what
it,
I meant.
but they're trash.
No, what I was trying to say is more like people see
yeah.
that middle ground as well, so they like, even if they're just on the consumer side and they don't know anything about music, like they're also hearing that middle ground of people that are kind of producing but not really, and they're like, oh well, this person said this, and meanwhile that person might have been completely fucking wrong, but that's where they got their information. So I don't know, man. Like, I feel like, I mean, I wasn't around when this happened, but I'm really curious if back in like the 80s and 90s, if this was like even an issue, because most people either were in a band or knew nothing about music. There was no middle ground, like kind of producer, you know?
I think back in the day, the people who knew were the people in the industry because they
Yeah.
didn't have a wealth
what
of
I mean,
knowledge
yeah.
as we have now, right?
It's not
but
accessible. It wasn't
Mhm.
as accessible as it is now. Like,
Yeah.
you needed, $100,000 worth of gear to record a record back
Exactly.
then. But now all
Yeah.
we need is like
Yeah.
$200 interface and a free
Yeah.
Reaper, bro. Like,
Yeah,
that's all we
exactly.
need.
congratulations, you're a musician now.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. My point was maybe not worded very well, but hopefully you guys knew what I meant.
No, totally.
It's fine. Yeah,
Makes
everyone's
sense.
trash and fuck everyone, right?
We're all
Yeah, you got it. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Thank you so
No,
much.
definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah.
I think
Uh,
that's just the reality of where music is now, though. Like,
yeah.
just because of accessibility and more people are doing it,
Yeah.
more people are able to do it. Like, there's obviously going to be more voices about
Yeah.
it,
Mhm,
Mhm.
mhm.
and there are many ways. There are many roads to the same destination. So, like, you're gonna have different opinions on how to do things and how things you think they should be done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Or what you like hearing. Like, some people
Right.
like hearing stupidly low-tuned guitars and screaming, and some people think that sounds like shit, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how
So
it
I
goes.
guess we just gotta like put our head down and do what we like,
Yeah.
and hopefully, someone will like it, which is basically what I do every day.
Just
But
just release
pretty much how I
material and then cross your fucking fingers.
see what
Especially if
sticks.
you're a YouTuber.
Yeah, for sure. I'm pretty sure that's it, Andrew. I don't know if you have anything else, but
Yeah, when are you gonna cover a Ginger song?
Oh,
my
no.
God. Oh, no.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Is that what you were thinking that we were gonna
Yeah,
ask?
I thought you guys were gonna go the feet. Like,
No,
how does
no.
it feel to be in a
Nah.
No,
male
I didn't.
dominated-
I wasn't gonna do that to you unless you
Definitely
brought
not.
it up yourself. I'm not doing that to
No.
you.
It's all good.
That feeds the problem, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely does not need to be discussed at all. And obviously,
Yeah.
I'm just joking. I just wanted to. I told
But
you
I want to
before.
know,
Yeah.
when will you cover Pisces?
It's the new Paramore. What can I say?
Yeah, like, they've actually become the new, like, comparison band for women, I think, in metal.
So ridiculous.
And it's like a meme. Yeah. So I purposely will not cover Ginger now.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to cover Paramore, but I'll purposely not cover Ginger until
I think you tweeted this morning about this, didn't you?
I could literally post a picture of my dog.
Yeah.
And someone will ask me to cover Ginger.
Yep.
Oh my god,
dude, it's crazy. I see it happen on your posts all the time. It's brutal.
Is it just because they have a female vocalist? That's why they want you to cover it?
Absolutely,
100%.
It's like it's become, and like I think Ginger's a wonderful band. Like they're very good, and Tatiana is obviously a great vocalist. Mm-hmm. Like I have nothing against that band, but like again, they've become the new meme.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like it'll go as far as like someone will say like, I really like this vocalist, like they're really good, and then you get the person like, but have you heard Ginger?
Yeah, it's so ridiculous, man.
That would that's insane.
But Ginger's the best one. Yeah. But
there can only be one. There can only be one band with a female vocalist. Like
there's
obviously, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
a meme now.
When are we gonna get over that hump where we have to, stop specifying whether it's a female-fronted band though? Like, can we just call it a band?
That should already.
I've been saying that for a very long time.
Yeah, like,
and at the same time, like, I do want to like represent the homies, the homegirls.
Yeah, of course.
But like, I don't think it needs to be a genre. Like, it's not a genre.
It's not a genre.
It's not.
And hyper focusing on it feeds the problem.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly.
that's why we didn't really want to talk about it.
Which is fine, like we can. But I think it's important to like note that if we hyper focus on it, we've not made it about the music anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
It like, I don't know. It makes it feel like it's supposed to be like some kind of fucking gimmick, which is bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else we want to complain about? Like,
we're old curmudgeons just like complaining about the government. Just like these metal guys.
They don't like my popsicle t-shirt. What the fuck?
They don't like my 8-string guitar.
Get with the times, old man.
I guess that's it. Thank you so much for joining us. This is super awesome. I'm really glad we made this work.
Yeah, this was awesome. I'm happy. I had fun.
Yeah. Well, I hope you get through the apocalypse like we are, and we'll chat soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you guys are well and not going too crazy in the isolation.
Nah, we got stuff to do.
We're okay so far.
Yeah. Just drinking White Claws and hanging out. That's it.
Exactly.
That's all we can do, man.
Yep.
It's the claw.
Claws of law, baby.
Claws of law.
All right.
Thank you so much, Lauren.
All right, guys.
Yeah, that was dope. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was awesome. It's always fun talking to Lauren. And like I was saying earlier, it's always nice to hear these perspectives from people who are in the unique position of being in more than one field at the same time. I feel like they always have like a ton of extra insight into like the music industry as a whole, which of course is vast and ever changing.
Mm-hmm. It was nice to just actually get a vocalist on too and talk about the musical journey of somebody else who isn't a guitar player, because we've done that a few times now.
For sure.
So that was great. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I'm stoked to have more vocalists on. We might have the Spirit Box homies come on soon, and we'll talk to Courtney and all of them. And they've every single person in that band
crazy
stories, crazy careers. So that'll be really cool. Hopefully we can figure that out within the next week or so.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get all three of them on there at the same time and just try not to talk over each other.
Oh God. Yeah. I'll just have to shut up and let people talk. That's kind of like one of the number one rules of podcasting is don't talk over each other.
Yeah.
Because like as a listener, hard. I hate it. Oh, we just did it.
Yeah.
No, exactly. You talk, me talk. It's frustrating for sure if the whole podcast is just like, nammering on about stupid bullshit and stuff.
For sure. But it's hard to, I don't know. It's like a whole skill in and of itself, just like not interrupting each other.
Yeah. It's a timing and rhythm thing, right? Like as you progress on, and like this, is the case with a lot of the podcasts that I listen to as well. you kind of just understand how to, you know, build rhythm with whoever you're co-hosting with and stuff. And then you can kind of like make it a little bit better and, you know, all that shit.
For sure.
Yeah. But I wanted to continue something on that we did from the last episode that we did. And now we can kind of maybe take a little bit more time on these questions.
Yeah.
Because golly gee, there's some real good ones in here that we can really get into.
Okay. Sounds sarcastic, but all right.
So we're going to do fan questions part 2. There were 14 in total that I chose. So we're doing the latter half, the last 7, I guess.
Ooh.
Have you read these yet?
I did, but it was like 2 weeks ago, so
okay,
it's
so
long gone out of my brain.
Okay, don't read them because I'm going to ask them.
Okay.
All right, first one is from Black Coma, and they ask, who has the spicier asshole?
It would be Johnny for sure.
I think it's me, but, you know, it depends how much Popeyes Andrew's had during the week and whether it's spicy or not. But I definitely think it's me because I do use
if we're talking about
too much hot sauce.
If we're talking about like literal quantity of shit. It's you.
Yeah. I win that for sure.
Man, Lauren's gonna listen to this podcast and be like, "What the fuck? This is what they talked about right after."
Hey, it's the first question, so moving on to the next one. I don't even remember what some of these are. This is just like a straight up regular normal question. Nothing about spicy assholes. The Dutch Gentleman's asks, "Why is Heads Will Hang by Fit for an Autopsy the heaviest song ever?"
It's definitely a super heavy song. I don't think it's the heaviest song ever personally, but I love that song and it's fucking fantastic.
I agree. The reason why I think that song is so heavy as well is because there's a lot of like meaning behind the entire track itself lyrically. So I think emotionally the song is very heavy. It's, in my opinion, I mean, heavy is, you know, relative, right?
Yeah, of course.
So it's not the heaviest song in my opinion, but the breakdown in that song is pretty fucking awesome.
See, I don't know what the lyrics are at all. I'm not a big lyrics guy, if that makes any sense. Like I don't, especially for screaming songs, like I can basically never tell what the fuck they're saying anyways. Like I know a few words here and there, but anyways, yeah, like just instrumentally, and I just listen to the music as like a whole piece, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that song's super heavy, and I mean, the thing that makes it really heavy is just like how fucking good those guitars sound when they're doing that like super low palm muted. I think it's in drop G. I don't know. Will Putney is a genius, and that the production on the album definitely helps make it sound absolutely crushing.
Yeah. I know Joe writes a lot about like some
environmental
political issues, environmental stuff. Like Black Mammoth is all about the mistreatment of Native Americans, specifically in America. So I always appreciate it when it's not just a band saying like, fuck you, blah, you know. I like it when it has a little bit more substance, right?
Yeah.
Next question. How is the new Angel Maker going to sound with 3 guitarists, like Whitechapel or old Chelsea Grin, or different? I can't really say it's going to sound incredibly different necessarily. My kind of goal in joining the band and starting to write with them is I still want to retain the Angel Maker flavor and what makes them so good in the first place. But something I feel as though they could have more of is more atmosphere and making the Angel Maker sound a bit wider and bigger by adding said atmosphere. Like for example, the last Oceano record has so much atmosphere and it's still just super heavy as fuck. So with 3 guitar players, especially live, I think it's something that we can pull off now. So I do want to try and add some more just like terrifying sounding atmospheric stuff. And I've kind of already been doing that with a lot of the stuff that I've been writing. So
yeah. And I have nothing to add to this because I have no fucking idea.
Yeah. And there's that one wasn't for him, I guess.
I mean, I've heard the demo tracks you've been writing and it still sounds like Angel Maker in a good way. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't think it sounds like Whitechapel or Chelsea Grin.
No,
at all, really. It still just sounds like Angel Maker.
Yeah. We're still pulling a lot of influences from those old bands, as they always have, but it's just not like direct, you know. No. It's a big old melting pot of a bunch of shit.
Yep.
Next question. Just us Gash's question is non-metal
Justice.
stuff. Yeah, I don't know, whatever.
Shout out to Justice, man. He's a huge supporter.
Non-metal stuff you find inspiring, and what can we do to get Bana on his string gauges? Ignore that last half of the question. Who fucking cares?
He's just fucking with me. He knows.
Yeah,
he knows.
Non-metal stuff that inspires you. Let's open this question up a little bit more. It doesn't necessarily have to be music. It can be any medium.
That's kind of what I figured, because I was gonna say if it's music, then I don't really have an answer at all.
Right.
But for me, it's movies and video games, obviously. More so movies than video games, I would say. I mean, because I like to watch a lot of like pretty, I don't know, dark movies, let's say, like psychological thrillers and stuff like that, or true crime or whatever. So those shows are usually like pretty dark and I guess you could say heavy, which therefore inspires heavy music for me. And also like the soundtracks on like horror movies and thrillers is always just like evil as fuck sounding anyways, so that kind of helps as well. Yeah, and then like some video games here and there, but probably not as much influence from video games, for me at least.
You don't think Doom has inspired you at all?
Well, okay, yeah, but that's like a pretty specific example. Like, it's not like there's other video games that sound like that, you know?
Right.
I meant like more of like a genre as a whole, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I gotcha. I'll use an example of a show that I watched that inspired a song directly. Spirit Wives, I wrote all about Ed Kemper, who was one of the focal points of the first season of Mindhunters, or Mindhunter. I can't remember if it's plural or not. Whatever. I really liked that show, and I'm bummed that the third season was canceled.
Oh, it was? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Either it's not on Netflix and they're going somewhere else, or it's completely done. I can't remember exactly what it is. But yeah, that whole song I wrote pretty much directly all about him and his experience through his life and his story.
Yeah.
So definitely like the medium of shows like that I find really inspiring. I listen to a lot of like philosophical speakers, will say, or like theorists about like existentialism and stuff. I find that stuff very inspiring. Just like the idea of, nothing matters, very nihilistic view of things. I find that inspiring to write music about. Yeah. And a lot of the stuff that I have already previously written, especially like old Galactic Pegasus stuff with Bastion, is very pessimistic, we'll say, about, the outlook on life and existence as a whole and stuff. So I don't know, music wise, I listen to a lot of different kinds of music, and something that maybe directly inspires my like metal writing, I guess. I listen to a lot of lo-fi hip hop, which is cool when it comes to building atmosphere. I listen to a lot of like folk music and, kind of like electronic stuff like that. I actually recently listened to Nero's Welcome to Reality record, which is like a 100% EDM record.
Yeah, that's weird, but okay.
But I used to listen to it when I was a kid, and I used to listen to that record back to front because it's one flowing album. And I really like that in records where albums are thought as one big piece as opposed to tiny little pieces. It like really flows. So I definitely back in the day drew a lot of influence from that for sure. That was a long answer, but that's it. Gary asks, why can't Andrew win at COD?
It's because you guys keep winning when I fucking leave, man.
Yeah, I don't know what happens. We get close. It's not
we got in third and second place a bunch when I was playing, but the one time you guys won was like immediately after I quit. So I was like, fuck.
Yeah, Andrew, he quit and he was out, and then as soon as he was gone, we did a round and we won.
Game.
Yeah. I mean, I've only won fucking twice.
Yeah.
So like, I can't say much. But
like, was it really you that won, or was it your team that won?
We did it as a team. Okay. I'm not the best COD player by any means, especially not in multiplayer. I feel like I can hold my own in Warzone, but when it comes to multiplayer, I'm pretty bad. Especially if we're playing hardcore, like not a fucking chance.
Yeah,
it's not directly Andrew's fault. So
Not directly.
But he
partially.
does some things that maybe set up his demise for sure.
Well, I don't like to hide in a bush for 20 minutes. It's not very fun. So
the cost of victory. Next question. How doth thou scream deliciously? In other words, how do you scream like that is what I'm assuming this question is.
Yeah. Well, it's also because I released that song called "Wouldst Thou Like to Live Deliciously," so it's kind of a reference to that. Yeah.
I get it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Andrew and I both scream in very different ways.
Yeah.
Andrew is very much power first, where I would relate it to like
scream boy.
Yeah, I would relate it to a barking dog, and I mean that in the nicest way.
No, you're 100% right.
Where it's all power at once. Yeah. It sacrifices your stamina, I think, but
for sure.
The tone in the scream that you do have is great, and I think that's why it is so good. Is it feels a lot like an actual yell, which is something that I don't have because that's not how I scream. I usually power fry, and a lot of it comes from my head voice as opposed to my chest. Whereas when I sing, a lot of my power from singing comes from my chest voice.
Yeah. So as Johnny was saying, like with the way that I scream is nothing like his, and we run into this problem a lot when we do like dual vocal covers because it's really hard to mix our two vocal styles, or at least I think it's hard to mix because they're completely fucking different. Like with mine, I'm essentially yelling as loud as I possibly can. Like it's definitely way more based in like hardcore than metal, which is kind of weird, I guess, because I don't really listen to hardcore. But like my vocal style is way more similar to something like Knocked Loose or like Counterpart or something like that. Where
100%.
They're basically just yelling with distortion. That's essentially what I'm doing. But with that being said, like again, like what Johnny was saying is I have very, 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 very little stamina. Like I can only do a few short words at a time before I have to breathe. So I can't do any of those like long held out screams or anything like that. Like that's not something I can do. So it has its pros and cons. It definitely sounds kind of unique because not many people do it this way, but it also at the same time, I don't know if it's necessarily good for my throat because I'm essentially yelling. So I don't know, but that's the way I've always done it.
I mean, as anything, if you practiced it more, you could definitely accomplish what you want to accomplish, and you could expand on your range more by doing that. The way that you do it is so like sporadic and barky that I think it does enact like bad habits. So that's probably why you run, your stamina pretty low, just because like it's so much power at once.
Yeah.
It's something that can easily be worked on though.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
if you really wanted to work on it, you could definitely like do it so that you're not damaging your throat, which I'm not saying you necessarily are, but at the time that you're doing your vocals, you'll just like tire yourself out way quicker, right?
I don't think that I damage my vocals that often, but I think it's definitely easier to accidentally damage my vocals this way because it's so like instant and like sporadic that if I fuck up even like the first word, then it's like that could hurt myself right there.
Yeah.
So
well, think about
a little risky.
Think about when we did that GP show where you and I traded off vocals and like how
exactly
what that was like.
Well, I used to do vocals, the only vocalist in the band, and I only did that for like a few months because I basically would lose my voice every single show. So I was like, well, this is clearly not viable. So I switched to only doing backup vocals, which for me is no problem because then I'm, just doing it once in a while and it's all good. But
combining your style of vocals with walking around stage, it's just
it's impossible.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
I felt like I was gonna fucking die.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, and I've done it before too, where I still don't consider myself super great live yet. I still need to work on a lot of stuff. But I've even done it where I'll improperly breathe and I wind myself and then I can't do anything.
Yeah.
Like you gotta know what you're fucking doing. It's hard.
Yeah.
Last question is, when are you guys gonna do a Mad Libs or pre-breakdown call out video? I love those vids. Well, we can't really do it now.
We've done. How many have we even done? I feel like we've done like 5 or 6 or something. We did Mad
Yeah,
Libs,
we've done
we
a
did
lot.
Cards Against Humanity, we did Christmas, we did
Porn.
Porn. Was it just those 4? I think there might. Oh, and the movie title. So we've done 5
movie titles, and then we have, or I think you did actual call outs on your own as well, like from actual songs.
Yeah,
and
but I'd assume that's not what this question is asking about. Though.
No, not necessarily. Yeah, I mean, right now we can't really do it the way that I think makes the video good.
Yeah.
So we'll probably hold off. And honestly, I think holding off is a great idea because we did do a lot of them in a kind of a short amount of time. Like,
I don't personally agree, but I get what I understand your logic behind it, but I don't think so.
I want there to actually be a demand for it, and then we do it and it's good instead of just like constantly doing it over and over. So like when it does come up, it's like oh sick, they did another one, that's cool. You know, instead of like, oh fuck, they did another one, god damn it.
I definitely understand what you mean, but I don't think that that's the way that YouTube works anymore. So from like a YouTube perspective of things, I don't think so. But from like a like what you would think would work, then yes, that's what I would think as well. But in my experience, what I think is often what does not actually work.
Right.
But yeah,
do you have any ideas for what we could do for one?
I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I definitely have like a Google Doc somewhere with a list of a bunch of them.
Right.
And we thought of like potentially doing one over Zoom or something, but the thing that makes those videos good is we always do that in one take, so it doesn't matter how badly we fuck up, because the best part of those videos is definitely like us reacting to each other, and that I don't think would be nearly as strong if we did it online. It's the same reason we haven't really done like a collab version where we do it with like a vocalist, because then it just wouldn't really have the same vibe where it's like we're in a room just fucking around and like it's funny because it's in the moment and we see what happens, whereas like doing it online would just be way more like rehearsed, and I just don't think it would end up being as funny because we would be taking it more seriously, I guess.
Yeah, no, we need to do it in person with somebody if we're going to do a collab. Like I've mentioned this before, I really want to do one with Austin.
Yeah.
Austin Dickey.
He said he was down.
I think we could make it happen eventually, but obviously right now, considering the circumstances, we can't really do fucking anything, which is fine. But yeah, I don't know. We'll figure that out as we go and see what happens in the apocalypse and all that shit.
Yeah, but I'm sure we'll do another one soon. Or as soon as we can, I guess I should say.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it for this one. We're running at about 2 hours here. But yeah, thanks for listening. If you've made it this far, maybe we'll do questions again soon, but I'm going to hold off for a bit. Hope you all enjoyed this. Make sure you check out all of Lauren's stuff as well if you haven't already. Hopefully, if you've never heard of Lauren before, this is good insight. You can go check her shit out and support her. She recently just reached 100,000 listeners on Spotify, which is fucking amazing. It's great for her.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thanks again for watching, everyone. See you later.